The War Crimes Tribunal froze the footage at timestamp 3:47:22, and the human consultant whispered, "Oh God, please mute that. I was going through puberty." Supreme Admiral Zillax's crystalline sensory nodes flared red. Around the circular chamber, representatives from 47 member species of the Galactic Council sat in stunned silence. The holographic display hovering above the central platform showed the cockpit of what historians called the Precursor Fighter, the legendary one-pilot craft that had ended the Dark Fleet invasion 10,000 years ago. The pilot's hands were visible on the controls, but the image was paused just before the audio timestamp that had taken xenoarchaeologists 3 centuries to decrypt. According to YouTube analytics, 99.6% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. Consultant Rodriguez, Zillax's translator, rendered his clicks and harmonics into flat galactic standard. "You will explain your statement immediately. This tribunal has convened the highest military authorities from across known space to review evidence of potential war crimes committed by the Precursor Fighter. The weapon signature analysis suggests use of a reality-bending resonance device banned under the Tlaxian Conventions. We do not appreciate frivolous interruptions." Jennifer Rodriguez, a 32-year-old museum archivist from Earth who'd been hired 6 months ago to authenticate human historical artifacts for the Galactic Museum's expanding collection, had gone extremely pale. She was wearing her usual work clothes, jeans, a coffee-stained university sweatshirt, and her museum ID badge. She'd thought this was just another boring consultation about some old spaceship parts. Jennifer said, staring at the frozen image of hands she recognized very, very well. "Can I see the date stamp on that footage again?" "The carbon dating analysis places this recording at 10,247 Earth years ago," announced Kyle Thas, the Valorian military historian who'd spent her entire career studying the Precursor Wars. Her 6 eye stalks focused on Jennifer with what might have been suspicion. "The ship's hull showed clear signs of temporal distortion, which corroborates our timeline estimates." "Why do you ask?" Jennifer did some quick mental math, then groaned and put her face in her hands. Oh no, no. That was the summer before senior year. Mom is going to be so mad if she finds out you guys have this footage." The chamber erupted in confused chittering, whistling, and harmonic vibrations. Admiral Zillax raised 3 of his upper appendages for silence. "Consultant Rodriguez, you are 32 years old, according to your Earth identification documents. You could not possibly have been present during the Precursor Wars. Are you claiming temporal displacement?" "I'm claiming that I did a summer internship with Dr. Peterson's temporal research lab when I was 17, and there was an incident with the calibration systems, and I possibly accidentally got stuck in the prehistoric era for like 3 weeks and had to fight my way back to the correct timeline," Jennifer said in one breath. "It was supposed to be a learning experience about responsible time travel. Instead, I learned that rental fighter deposits are non-refundable, even in cases of temporal anomalies." Admiral Korvax of the Dantari Empire, whose species had lost 3 entire star systems to the Dark Fleet before the Precursor Fighter's intervention, leaned forward. His battle scars glowed with agitation. "You are claiming to be the Precursor Fighter, the legendary warrior who single-handedly defeated an armada of 4,000 capital ships? The deity warrior whose tactics have shaped galactic military doctrine for 10 millennia? I'm claiming that I'd really prefer if you didn't play that audio," Jennifer said desperately. "Seriously, my voice was doing that awful cracking thing that happens to teenagers. And I tried to sound intimidating, but it came out all squeaky. And I've spent 15 years trying to forget that summer." Zillax gestured to the technician. "Play the audio." "Wait, no!" The holographic display sprang to life. 17-year-old Jennifer's voice, high and strained with the unmistakable crack of adolescence, echoed through the chamber. "Dark Fleet, this is a..." Horrific voice crack that sounded like a strangled mouse. Your final warning, leave this sector immediately or face, another devastating voice crack. Face the consequences of your actions. Present-day Jennifer had slid down in her chair until she was almost under the conference table. Kill me now, she muttered. The footage continued. In the holographic display, the Dark Fleet's response came through, a transmission of harsh clicking and grinding that the translator rendered as, "Retreat, retreat. Species demonstrates mastery over vocal frequencies at quantum level. Probability of survival, 0. 4,000 ships, each the size of a small moon, had abruptly ceased their assault on the primitive world below and jumped to hyperspace in what military analysts had studied as the most orderly panic retreat in recorded history. The chamber was silent except for the soft sound of Jennifer's forehead repeatedly hitting the table. The weapon's signature, Kael'thas said slowly, manipulating the holographic data with her tentacles, the reality-bending resonance that disabled 3 Dark Fleet Vanguard ships before the main retreat. Consultant Rodriguez, what device were you using? My throat, Jennifer said miserably. I had a cold, plus the voice crack thing. I was trying really hard to sound scary, but puberty had other ideas. Your throat. Admiral Xylax's translator struggled with the concept. You defeated the most feared invasion force in galactic history with an adolescent human biological function. To be fair, I didn't actually defeat them. They just left. I figured they'd gotten bored or something. Jennifer finally looked up from the table. Wait, you're telling me they surrendered? Because of my voice crack? Military analyst Zilia, a crystalline collective member whose species processed information at near quantum speeds, began projecting data streams into the holographic display. Cross-referencing recovered Dark Fleet intelligence archives. Yes, confirmed. The Dark Fleet's AI analysis systems interpreted the vocal frequency instabilities as evidence of reality manipulation technology. They concluded that any species whose adolescence could casually distort quantum vocal harmonics during combat represented an existential threat. They thought my voice changing was a weapon? Jennifer started laughing, that slightly hysterical laugh of someone whose teenage embarrassment has achieved cosmic significance. Oh my God! Oh my God! Is that why they left? They got scared of puberty? According to their battle reports, Zilia continued, which were recently declassified after 10,000 years, they specifically noted, enemy demonstrates unstable reality manipulation at the vocal level, suggesting mastery of forces beyond conventional physics. Species too dangerous to engage. Recommend immediate withdrawal and permanent sector quarantine. Jennifer was laughing so hard she had tears running down her face. I can't breathe. They thought teenagers were cosmic threats. There is more footage, Kael'thas said quietly. May we continue? Oh God, there's more? Jennifer wiped her eyes. Fine. It can't possibly get more embarrassing than... The holographic display showed 17-year-old Jennifer in the fighter's cockpit eating a sandwich. Not carefully, not delicately, full teenage appetite sandwich consumption, complete with talking while chewing. See, Mom, teenage Jennifer said to someone off-screen, I'm fine. Just had to deal with some weird ships bothering these dinosaur-looking things. I'll be home by dinner, promise. Yeah, I know I'm grounded. Well, this wasn't my fault. The calibration was off. Dr. Peterson said, Mom, I gotta go. There's still some ships out there. Love you. Yes, I'll clean my room when I get back. Bye. She disconnected the call and took another massive bite of her sandwich, just as 3 Dark Fleet scouts appeared on her sensors. Present-day Jennifer had her face in her hands again. Please tell me you didn't analyze that footage. We analyzed that footage, Admiral Korvac said. His voice held a tone that the translator struggled to render, something between awe and existential crisis. The Dark Fleet Intelligence Division intercepted that transmission. They interpreted "be home by dinner" as a temporal manipulation capability. the ability to treat 10,000-year time displacements as minor scheduling inconveniences. They concluded your species had mastered time itself. I was literally just talking to my mom on FaceTime. What? Zilax asked carefully. Is FaceTime? It's a video call. App for phones. It's completely normal human technology. Cilier's data streams flickered rapidly. The Dark Fleet's analysis suggested that FaceTime was a time-face manipulation device allowing instantaneous communication across temporal boundaries. They theorized that humans could weaponize causality itself. Jennifer stared at the crystalline analyst. You're telling me that an invasion force of 4,000 ships retreated because they saw a teenager talking to her mom and eating a sandwich? The sandwich is particularly significant, Kalthas interjected, pulling up additional data. Your act of casual consumption during combat has been studied by military academies across 47 civilizations for the past 10 millennia. It's considered the ultimate display of supreme confidence and resource superiority. The casual consumption protocol has become standard doctrine in 80% of Galactic Council military forces. The what protocol? When engaging in combat, warriors consume food to demonstrate that they consider the battle so beneath their concern that they can simultaneously address their nutritional needs, Kael'thas explained. It's considered the height of warrior culture. Elite forces train for years to master the psychological warfare applications of casual snacking. Jennifer's laugh had evolved into a kind of breathless wheeze. I was just hungry. I packed a lunch. That's normal. There's more, Cilia said, highlighting another timestamp. This section shows you engaged in what we've classified as psychological warfare resonance deployment. The footage played. 17-year-old Jennifer was humming while adjusting her fighter's navigation controls. Is that... Admiral Zilax's sensory nodes pulsed in confusion. Is that a threat harmonic? That's Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen, Jennifer said flatly. It was stuck in my head. I hum when I'm nervous. The Dark Fleet's audio analysis team concluded it was a reality-bending psychological attack, Cilia reported. They noted that the harmonic pattern contained no recognizable threat structure from any known species, suggesting it operated on principles beyond conventional warfare. They interpreted it as evidence that humans could weaponize abstract concepts. I just had a song stuck in my head. Korvax rose from his seat, his massive form towering over the chamber. Consultant Rodriguez, Precursor Fighter, you must understand what your actions accomplished. The Dark Fleet had conquered 17 galaxies. They had never retreated from any engagement. Your intervention saved not just one primitive world, but potentially dozens of developing civilizations that would have been in their path. You are worshipped as a war deity by 12 species. Military academies teach your tactics as the pinnacle of combat philosophy. My tactics of, Jennifer counted on her fingers, having a voice crack, calling my mom, eating lunch, and humming. A pop song? Yes. That's what 10,000 years of galactic military doctrine is based on? Yes. Jennifer put her head down on the table again. I want to die. The War Crimes Investigation, Zilax said, his tone shifting to something almost gentle, was initiated because several council members believed that the resonance weapon you deployed violated the Tlaxian conventions against reality manipulation weapons. However, based on this testimony, we can confirm that no such weapon was used. Your victory was achieved through... He paused, as if struggling with the words. Biological adolescence, maternal communication devices, nutritional maintenance, and involuntary harmonic expression. Can we please just say I got lucky and leave it at that? Jennifer pleaded. We cannot, Kael'thas said firmly. The historical record is too significant. However, she glanced at Zilax, who nodded slowly. We conceal the audio recordings under diplomatic protection protocols for security reasons. Security reasons, Jennifer repeated. To protect the dignity of a decorated warrior, Korvac said solemnly. We would not want the Precursor Fighter's legendary status diminished by unnecessary details. You mean you don't want people to know that your entire military doctrine is based on a teenager with a cold and questionable time management skills? The silence in the chamber was telling. We prefer, Zilak said carefully, to emphasize the effectiveness of the outcome rather than the specific methodological details. Jennifer looked around at the assembled military leaders of 47 civilizations, all of them studiously avoiding eye contact. You're embarrassed. We are concerned, Zilax corrected, that revealing the full context might undermine confidence in protocols that have proven effective for 10 millennia. They work because people think they work, Jennifer realized. If everyone knows the casual consumption protocol is just teenager eating lunch, it loses its psychological impact. Essentially, yes, Zilia admitted. Jennifer sat back in her chair, a slow grin spreading across her face. So what you're saying is, you need me to keep quiet about this. Admiral Zilax's sensory nodes flickered warily. We would appreciate your discretion. And in exchange, the charges are dropped, Zilax said immediately. Your service record as the Precursor Fighter will be officially updated to reflect that no war crimes were committed. You will be granted honorary military status across all Council species, and the audio recordings will be permanently sealed. Forever sealed? Forever sealed. Jennifer pretended to think about it for exactly 3 seconds. Deal. Nobody at the museum can ever know about this. I just want to catalog old pottery and go home at 5. Agreed. Zilax made a formal gesture that the translator rendered as binding military accord accepted. Then, more hesitantly, may I ask, what became of the rental fighter? The ship itself is considered a legendary artifact. Multiple civilizations have searched for it without success. Oh, I returned it to the rental company, Jennifer said cheerfully. They tried to charge me late fees, though. 10,000 years' worth, took forever to dispute. Every being in the chamber stared at her. You disputed the fees? Korvax asked weakly. Well, yeah, the time displacement wasn't my fault. That's not fair consumer practice. I had the rental agreement saved on my phone, so I just showed them the terms and conditions. Took it to arbitration and everything. Won, too, got a full refund on the deposit. Zilia's data streams flickered erratically. You engaged in legal arbitration with a time-traveling rental company? Over fees? It's the principle of the thing, Jennifer said firmly. Plus, that deposit was $300. That's like 2 weeks of groceries. Zilax's translator made a sound it had never made before, something like an electronic sigh of defeated acceptance. Of course you did. Of course the legendary Precursor Fighter's greatest battle was with rental company customer service. Actually won that one faster than the Dark Fleet thing, Jennifer said. They had a really bad arbitration clause, totally exploitable. The tribunal formally dismissed Jennifer 10 minutes later, with all charges dropped and all audio recordings sealed under the highest classification level. She signed approximately 50 autographs from military leaders who wanted documentation that they'd met the legendary Precursor Fighter, even though she kept insisting she was just a museum lady who had a weird summer job. As she was leaving, Kael'thas approached her with one final question. Consultant Rodriguez, the primitive species you saved, the dinosaur-looking things you mentioned, do you know what became of them? Jennifer paused. Actually, yeah. I checked on them before I left that time period. They were just starting to develop tools and basic language. Seemed like a nice species. Why? Kael'thas gestured to herself. All 6 eye stalks, the tentacles, the bioluminescent patterns. The Valorians evolved from that world. You saved my species' ancestors. Oh, Jennifer blinked. Oh, wow, that's actually really cool. It is the greatest honor of my career to have met you, Kael'thas said formally. Even if the meeting involved learning that our most legendary military engagement was, she paused delicately, less strategic than historical records suggested. Hey, it worked, right? Jennifer grinned. That's what matters. Indeed, Kael'thas made a formal gesture of respect. Though I must ask, do you still have that Call Me Maybe song available for research purposes? You want me to send you a pop song? Our psychological warfare division would very much like to analyze its properties. Jennifer pulled out her phone, the same phone she'd had as a teenager because she'd never been able to bring herself to get rid of it after everything, and airdropped the song to Kael'thas's datapad. Sure, why not? At this point, what's one more ridiculous thing? She left the council chambers humming that very song, completely unaware that behind her, Admiral Zilax was quietly instructing a junior officer to make a backup copy of the sealed audio files for historical preservation purposes only. 3 weeks later, Jennifer was back at her museum desk, cataloging a collection of Neolithic pottery fragments, when her supervisor stopped by. Jennifer, we just got a request from the Galactic Council. They want you to consult on some Precursor-era artifacts they've recently acquired. Sure, Jennifer said, not looking up from her pottery. What kind of artifacts? Something about a fighter craft from 10,000 years ago. They think it might have human origins. Jennifer's hand slipped, nearly dropping a 3,000-year-old bowl. You know what? I think I'm not qualified for that one. Maybe send it to the aerospace department. They specifically requested you, said you're the only consultant with direct experience with the time period. Her supervisor frowned. That's a weird way to phrase it. How would you have direct experience with something from 10,000 years ago? Summer internship, Jennifer muttered. Long story. Tell them I'm busy with pottery. They're offering to pay triple your normal consulting rate. I'll take a look at the artifacts. Because some things, apparently, never changed, including Jennifer Rodriguez's inability to turn down a decent paycheck, even when it meant confronting her most embarrassing teenage moments on a cosmic scale. At least they'd sealed the audio. Probably. Hopefully. In the council chambers, Admiral Zilax was already playing that audio for the senior military staff, who needed to understand exactly what foundation their entire military doctrine rested upon. The look on their faces suggested they were having the same existential crisis he'd had 3 weeks ago. But the protocols worked. That was what mattered, even if they'd been invented by accident by a teenager with a cold who just wanted to go home for dinner. Especially then, actually, because if humans could accidentally end wars while worrying about being grounded, what could they do on purpose? It was a question that kept Admiral Zilax awake at night, his sensory nodes flickering with a mixture of terror and profound respect. Humans. Terrifying even, especially by accident.